You're listening to the House of Takes NBA show with Dave Daba, the only NBA show in North America that believes the Rudy Gobert trade worked out for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Presented by Stealth.ltd.
Live and on tape from the heart of the Silicon Valley, it's the show that asks the tough, biting questions like, did Aaron Rodgers ask one of his Tiny Green Ailien friends to add Jimmy Kimmel's name to the soon-to-be-released Epstein list? I'm just asking. It is the House of Takes NBA show on a Tuesday night. You will probably be watching this on Wednesday. Coming up, I was duped earlier in the day by a fake trade involving Pascal Siakam and the Golden State Warriors. We're going to talk about that. We're going to give you my thoughts on the latest National Basketball Association power rankings, my first thoughts on it in the new year. And yes, of course, I know it's an NBA show, but we have to do it. We will talk about Aaron Rodgers for just a little bit. I've got all of that. And of course, trust me, a whole lot more coming up on the big show today. As always, North America, I'm Dave Daba, coming to you live and on tape from the heart of the Silicon Valley. We will get into the Pascal Siakam fake trade earlier that duped me, even had me having a conversation with a neighbor about it a little bit later in today's show. And of course, we are going to get into the NBA power rankings. That is right around the corner for you. But first, I wanted to talk about Aaron Rodgers for just a second. Now, I want to level set here for a minute. Now, we've heard Aaron Rodgers over the years say a wide variety of things. Now, if you're a non-Green Bay Packer fan, and if you are a fan of something I like to call reality, you know that a lot of the things that actually come out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth, while he might believe in them, tend to, quite frankly, not be 100% truthful. So I will leave it at that. No political discussions here at all on this show, other than to say Jimmy Kimmel's response, which starts with, "Hey, asshole," and it's then followed up by a comment about possibly taking Aaron Rodgers to court if he continues to slander his name related to this upcoming release of the Epstein list. It is an amazing thing to me that week in and week out, the world of reality seems to get further and further away from Aaron Rodgers. We could discuss just football for an hour, talking about how Aaron Rodgers had a miraculous Achilles recovery unlike anybody else has ever had in the history of mankind, and then went on to not want to be pulled off the IR list. Then he gets pulled off the IR list. Then he goes up to the player that got cut and apologizes. It is a truly an amazing world. To spend just a half hour in Aaron Rodgers' world would be very, I think, enlightening to an extent. All right, so on to the, seriously, the Jimmy Kimmel, Aaron Rodgers controversy is unbelievable. On to the association. And I wanted to start today talking about this Pascal Siakam trade, which I was duped by earlier in the day. Now, as a lot of you know, I have a pandemic puppy, which basically means my dog has been with somebody every day of his life and gets walked at least 4 times a day. So I was out with Rocky, or K-Rock, on his walk earlier in the day, and I was flipping through Flipboard, and I saw a headline about a trade. And it involved Pascal Siakam going from the Toronto Raptors to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for, of course, Andrew Wiggins, because we wanted to send him back to Canada. Gary Payton Jr., who, by the way, got hurt tonight again in a Warriors victory. But, and then included, several draft picks and a bunch of other things. So when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this went down. I can't believe I haven't heard about this. It said, in this coverage that it had gone down 2 hours earlier. I started to have a conversation with a neighbor of mine while I was walking Mr. K-Rock. And we talked about what it would mean for the Golden State Warriors to actually have Pascal Siakam. So I get back to my home office and I look at the reports, and it turns out I was duped. It's a trade. It was a hypothetical trade that a major publication, and I'm not going to mention them, had put out, but the wording on the headlines indicated that the trade had actually gone down. So beyond the fact that I was duped, does it seem like a good trade for the Golden State Warriors? And the answer, of course, would be absolutely. If they're giving up what it can best be described as a broken down basketball player, for whatever reason, Andrew Wiggins is broken down at this point, personal or non-personal. The fact is, Andrew Wiggins absolutely needs a change of address at this point. And if all you have to do is give him up and the always injured Gary Payton II for Pascal, and of course the Warriors would then have to commit to a long-term contract because Pascal's contract's coming up at the end of the season, which of course I think they'd be willing to do. That would also probably signal the end of Klay Thompson in Golden State, where unless Klay Thompson was willing to actually provide a significant hometown discount. You got to remember where Klay Thompson is coming from. There is one other team in the association that Klay Thompson would be happy to end his career with. And that, of course, is the team that his dad is a broadcaster for, and the team that his dad played for, and the team that Klay used to follow as a kid, the Los Angeles Lakers. So would this be a good trade for the Warriors? Absolutely. Now, the Toronto Raptors, having just made the trade to bring in RJ Barrett and quickly over the weekend, really probably want to just give it a couple weeks. They probably want to get a sense of what does this young nucleus actually look like with Pascal. Pascal's a fantastic basketball player, worth every penny he's going to get on the open market. And of course, I think it would make a lot of sense for the Toronto Raptors to actually keep him with Scotty Barnes if they could. I mean, why do a complete rebuild if you're the Toronto Raptors, if you already have, if you will, one of the top 5 center/power forwards in the game? What makes you think you're going to be able to draft a replacement for him anytime soon? So I think the question really remains, do these new younger pieces in Toronto actually fit, or do they not? And I think the Toronto Raptors organization, while they made a huge mistake with Fred VanVleet last season, will not make that same mistake with Pascal, but they will at least give it some time to see if this will actually put the Toronto Raptors on some sort of winning streak. All right. On to the National Basketball Association power rankings as of 11 p.m. PST. Now, everybody else's power rankings have come out earlier in the day. And basically, it was unanimous across most of the major publications and media outlets on this very Tuesday that the Oklahoma City Thunder were the second best team in the association with regards to power rankings. The best team was, of course, the Boston Celtics, who went on the road tonight in OKC and got beat by 4 points. It was a good game across the board. It could have gone either way. And of course, this was a home game for the Thunder. So in terms of the power rankings, I would say that it's OKC number 1, Boston number 2, my Minnesota Timberwolves, just because, like, as a T-Wolf fan, when have you been able to say for a very extended period of time, like we're currently living in, that the T-Wolves are one of the top 5 teams in the association? Look, I am not under any impression that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the NBA title this year. I'm not in any under any impression that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to the Western Conference Finals. I personally would just be happy with a playoff series victory. That, to me, would be a successful season for this Minnesota Timberwolves franchise. They have all sorts of holes that nobody's talking about. And when teams in the association in November and December get out to big starts, they end up being listed in these power rankings way too high, which is really not based in any reality. If you go look at which teams are favored in Las Vegas to actually win the title this year, you'll see the Timberwolves fall into the 8th or 9th slot, with the Lakers ahead of them. The Lakers, who are currently fighting to stay at 500. So the power rankings, you really do need to take with a grain of salt every week. I think the surprise teams in the power ranking, and it's not even a surprise team so much as to say the Denver Nuggets in at number 4, according to NBA.com's power rankings. That's not a surprise. To me, though, the surprise, which isn't a surprise, is the Los Angeles Clippers, which, quite frankly, if the playoffs were to start today, I think the Los Angeles Clippers, as they're currently playing, if everybody were healthy for an entire playoff run, this Clipper team is so incredibly dangerous. Now, we all know about the James Harden in the playoffs versus the James Harden in the regular season. The thing that you can't forget is Kawhi Leonard in the regular season and Kawhi Leonard in the playoffs. Now, Kawhi's not as young as he was. Nobody is, for that matter. And it shows at times in back-to-back games for Kawhi. But if they can keep Kawhi healthy heading into the playoffs this year, this Los Angeles Clipper team is unbelievably scary. Let me ask you this question. Do you really think that the OKC Thunder, who are 1 and or 2 in today's power rankings, are actually going to finish higher in the NBA playoffs if the Los Angeles Clippers are entirely healthy? And the answer to that question is absolutely not. It won't happen. The Clippers are probably the most dangerous and probably should be ranked as the highest power ranked team in the association. Now, we need a couple more weeks before they're going to climb up to the top of the charts. But if everybody stays healthy, I guarantee by the end of January, the Los Angeles Clippers will be the highest ranked team in the association. That's right. Sports Illustrated will have it. The Athletic will have it. NBA.com, and of course, the last American fish wrap in the USA Today will also have it. Now, if you take a look at the power rankings below the Clippers, you've got the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Sacramento Kings, who, interestingly enough, lost tonight at home to the Charlotte Hornets. Look, this is not last year's Sacramento Kings, NBA.com. The Sacramento Kings at this point do not deserve to be in the top 10 power rankings in the association. In at number 9, according to NBA.com, and at number 10, we have the Pelicans and the Miami Heat. Now, we all know how scary the Miami Heat can be. We also know about all the great talent on the New Orleans Pelicans team. That's followed in at 11 by the Indiana Pacers, the Phoenix Suns. A lot of people still talking about the Phoenix Suns, how they're going to be incredibly dangerous if they can get their big three to play together. I'm not seeing it at all. I'm not buying it. This is not the year for the Phoenix Suns. Even if Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker are all healthy for a playoff run, there's no way they're getting through Denver, the Clippers, and OKC, maybe even the Pels in the playoffs this year. I'm just not buying the Phoenix Suns. They don't have enough depth. And believe it or not, for teams that aren't big, depth matters. Yeah, you can't. Not everybody can be Tom Thibodeau, the New York Knicks, that's going to play 7 players in a NBA playoff series. It just can't happen. The Magic in at number 13 and the Knicks in at number 14, with the Dallas Mavericks in at number 15. The Lakers on this list, you have to scroll all the way down. You got to go past the Cleveland Cavaliers at 16 before you hit the Lakers, who are currently 17-17 and fall in at spot number 17. All right, North America, tell me what you think about the NBA power rankings. Where do you think the Los Angeles Clippers are going to end up at the end of January? I've got them at the top of everybody's NBA power rankings, injuries aside, at the end of January, at least by the end of January. All right, North America, thanks so much for tuning in to tonight's episode of the House of Takes NBA show. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, please go and subscribe. And of course, like this video. For the House of Takes NBA show, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
You've been listening to the House of Takes NBA show with Dave Daba, presented by Stealth.ltd.